Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
So welcome back to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant podcast. My name is Reams. I am the founder and CEO of CountingWorks Pro and our sister company, taxbuzz.com. Today, I am joined, as usual, with my co-host, Rebekah Barton. Rebekah, if you could just say hello real quick.
Hi, everybody. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so Rebekah is our client-facing kind of copywriting, SEO, branding expert. She also is a huge user of artificial intelligence. And surprise, surprise, that's what we're going to talk today. Another topic that we seem to come back to over and over again. But as I've been getting feedback from our webinars, so our tax update webinar that we've been doing for the last month, we did a 2-hour special on artificial intelligence. We talked kind of like an AI 101. We went through, what is AI at the basic level. I think at this point, everyone kind of knows. And then we've got into a lot of use cases on how to actually use it. But based on that, I've gotten various feedback, and I would say 99% of it is very positive. There's a small percentage of people, I'm not going to use AI. What is AI, meant for tax preparation or accounting? AI, I'm just not going to touch it. And that is something we're going to try to address today. So the topic is, and it's stirring a lot of debate, is artificial intelligence. We hear it all the time. AI is taking over. AI is too complicated. The question is that really the case? So today we're unpacking myths versus realities of AI and tax practices. Some of the talking points we're going to go over is AI coming for your job, or the key to freeing up you from inefficiencies. Hopefully we'll clear the air and give you some clarity on that and help you embrace some of this game-changing technology with confidence. So let's start in on, I broke this up into segments. This is going to be a shorter podcast. We're not doing any screen sharing, so it's just going to be all us talking. So the first segment I want to talk about is the myths about AI and tax practices. And Rebekah, since you're talking to 5, 10 of our clients every day, you're getting a lot of different feedback. So let's start with the first one. Why do you think so many tax pros believe AI will actually replace their jobs?
I think there are a lot of reasons. I think one of them is simply the fear of the unknown. It's new, it's different. AI is something that a lot of tax pros have never dealt with before. It didn't exist in the past, and it's just a new way of doing things. So it's scary because we're hearing, well, robots are going to take over, all these different things in the news media. And so I think there's a natural fear, especially for people who are maybe not as into technology. They don't keep up with tech news on a regular basis. And secondarily, I think when you see what it can do, it can be a little bit alarming for someone who's in the tax industry to look at a video or something of AI spitting out a tax plan or assessing a document, doing something that they would normally be doing themselves manually. So I think that can be scary and challenging to overcome, but it's really important to remember that AI is a tool. It is not here to replace you. It is here to assist you.
Yeah, and it kind of follows up with some of the feedback. So those that I had people that literally emailed me personally after watching the webinar, and their comments was, I am blown away. I cannot believe it can do all of this. But I'm going to wait until after tax season. I'm like, what do you mean wait till after tax season? You still have 2.5 months or 2 months, depending when you start seeing clients, to prepare to kind of at least get your feet wet and use it for, the low-hanging fruit type of tasks and repetitive tasks, whether that be tax research at the basic level, responding to clients' inquiries. So it's true, even though, we continue to show the power, some people are still a little hesitant to get in there. So the next question comes to, okay, is it going to be how do I get trained on using AI? Is the software itself too expensive for my firm? I like to say you need to start looking at AI as labor. And it is a tool that makes you scalable. It can do things so much faster than any humans can, especially when it comes to looking at data, finding trends, comparing data to different KPIs, things like that. So in that respect, I don't know if there's really an expense. It's actually saving you a ton of time and money when it comes to your labor costs. But, what would you say to people that say AI is too expensive for, some of our smaller firms?
I would say exactly what you just alluded to, Lee, that you can basically replace a body with this, right? Like you can replace a person in your office and not even necessarily replace, but if you've been thinking I need an assistant, I can't do this all by myself anymore, that kind of thing. We're not saying you have to fire someone, but if you've been thinking you need to expand your labor force because the workload is getting to be too much for you, AI can take on a lot of those menial tasks or even just less high value tasks that you want to devote your time to without you having to hire someone who's going to need benefits and sick days and vacation time and all these other issues that can come up with employing a person on top of their salary. So it's definitely there as an expansion of your labor force without that overhead. And secondarily, AI itself at this point is not super expensive to use. Subscription prices are not wild. You're going to save a ton over the time value of you doing it yourself or adding to your physical staff. So there are a lot of reasons to consider it over actual labor force expansion.
Yeah, no, Rebekah, are you saying that you go to Disney, too many Disney trips, and that the AI easily doesn't have to do this? Or are you saying I'm able to go to Disney more because I use AI to save me time and free up a lot of my resources?
Obviously, the second one. And there's no
Okay, all
such
right.
Disney trip.
Okay. I did learn a new thing. As I told you there, I've learned that there's a flight from John Wayne Airport in Orange County directly to Orlando, and it's like a couple times a week. What is it called? The Disney Express, I think. And it's like some low frills, bring on your own stuff. And a buddy of mine was flying out to Florida, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going on the Disney Express," like an airline I didn't even know about. But we learn things every day. All right, so let's keep moving on. And I'm going to say a couple things. And we meant labor and not replacing labor, but I also want people to start thinking about kind of a new concept here. This is a saying that's been used a lot, but I actually wanted to give credit to who we think said it the first time, which was a Harvard professor called Theodore Levitt. And basically it says people don't want drills, they want 1-inch holes. So basically they don't want the hole, they want the result. And I think it's a really important thing to understand that when we're talking about AI, that is the tool. But when you're relating this to your client doesn't care what tools you're doing. They don't care how many hours you work other than how much it costs. They care about the result. Now, if we can utilize AI tools and technology to drive better financial outcomes, I think that is obviously a win-win for both you and your clients. So let's talk a little bit about, what are the realities that tax pros might not realize about AI. And I want to kind of talk about it as it's not just a bot doing stuff all the time. This is a lot of things we're talking about as co-pilot type arrangements or kind of the way the human in the loop works. So if you can kind of shed some light there.
Definitely. So I think one really good example of this is analyzing a tax plan or tax documents. Let's say someone comes to you, they're a new tax planning client, you have all kinds of documentation, you're trying to go through it, find the deductions that they need to take, find places they could be saving money, find strategies they could be using, and it would take you hours, probably a whole day of work to go through all of this, if not longer. If you pop all of those PDF documents into AI and ask it to assess the documents, it can do it in mere minutes. Then you, as the human in the loop, can use your expertise and your knowledge of this person's lifestyle, their future goals. Maybe they want to buy a second home, those sorts of things. You can take the data that was spit out very quickly and provide personalized recommendations to them. And like Lee said, people don't care that you used AI. No one's going to sit down in your office and say, how did you get this tax plan? They're just going to be thrilled that you're saving them money. And then they're going to recommend you, and it's going to lead to referrals. And then it's just this great cycle, all kind of because you were using AI to drive these really, really good results.
Yeah. And I think that is like the big takeaway when it comes to how am I adding more value to my clients, and then saying, I'm not going to learn it this tax season, I'm going to wait until afterwards. But if you could have now served all of your clients, and maybe let's talk about some ways, like a use case that is practical to your tax season right now. So let's pretend you start sending out, or you take all the tax organizers or your intake forms. If you're using CountyWorks Pro, you're obviously familiar with intake forms. They're basically like kind of shorter questionnaires that can take a lot of data that now I can take that data and spit it into whatever prompting sequence I want on my side, where the AI tool can now basically pre-plan for that client meeting. Or when they start sending in their documents, I start throwing in all the intake form information plus all their documents, and I can start doing proactive recommendations. These are things that would A, save you time, but B, I don't think you're currently doing. The next level of this is now taking, let's say, a finished tax plan and creating an audio overview of that tax plan. Or what we've been doing lately is taking our blog content and creating two-way conversations that break down highly complex topics into language and a conversation that your clients can actually understand versus, kind of over complexing them with all these details in a blog article. So there's a lot of different ways that AI is kind of moving, I guess, the needle a little bit. So now I'm going to talk about, I think we're still kind of getting into why I don't think it's going to take your jobs yet. But how do I now use it here to make my life better? And if I don't, are there some repercussions to that? Meaning, will I be left behind? So let's talk about some strategies to overcome AI resistance, whether that be you personally, or perhaps that's your firm. Maybe the firm doesn't trust it yet. They don't trust the data. So what would be the way that you would try to get a firm to go over and start using it that's hesitant to adopt AI? And maybe it's starting small, learning trust in just small doses.
Exactly. So I've actually talked to people who are very hesitant, but they kind of want to dip their toe in. And there's a few different things that you can do to sort of start diminishing that level of resistance that you might be facing either within yourself or within your team in your office. So the first thing, like Lee said, is to start small. Pick one task and maybe pick a task that is not as technical. I have a marketing mind. That's where my brain always goes. So maybe use it to create a social media calendar for the month, or to answer several client emails that came in overnight. Just sit down one morning and have AI respond to them instead of responding to them yourself. Things like that, where you can just really see the speed of AI, the accuracy of the responses. That can be a helpful way to get people to start seeing, okay, maybe there is something to this. And then as you get comfortable with those tasks, start feeding it more technical data once you've developed a certain level of trust with the system. The second option is to really show people the benefits that AI offers. And at first, do a human cross-check, right? We talk about human in the loop a lot. So if you want to cross-check the first tax plan it spits out and see if the numbers are accurate, those kinds of things, do that. If that's going to give you more of a level of confidence moving forward to let the AI kind of work on its own, and then you take that data and work off of it, don't ever hesitate to cross-check the numbers if that's going to make you feel more confident at first. So I think starting small and keeping that human in the loop aspect of things, double checking data, especially at first, can be ways to really sort of start to get more comfortable with using this new technology if you've never used it before.
All right, and I'm going to give another look at this. So pretend you're not comfortable with it doing your tax plan and you're using Lacert's tax planner, for example, and it spits out, you're going in there and you have that archaic, I've looked at a couple of our clients working in the interface and I'm like, oh my God, this feels like it's 20 years old now, because it looks like it is, but it's trusted. We know the data coming out is going to be accurate. We like the recommendations it's making. It's not as capable as AI, but think about this. What if you took that output, now put it into AI and ask it to create a high-end client presentation of the material, meaning adding charts, make it more graphical, so visual, so a client's eyeballs can kind of see things, and it almost adds value to this, kind of this piece of paper or this PDF file. And then take it a step further. Why don't you add AI technology that then summarizes what was found in that tax plan and actually articulates it via an audio voice, via voice, right? Now you can share that through your client hub, secure. You can now have a high-end client presentation. Your client can now listen. You're not necessarily sitting down for a full hour-long meeting. You're able to now articulate your thoughts, your recommendations, then get feedback. So I think in that kind of use case, it really frees you up. So I'm going to go back to the trust. You trust the software. Now let AI polish it. Now let AI do that final step to make it look really good. And I compare this to back in the old days. We used to own a company called Image One. We were one of the biggest folder and envelope producers in the country, I think, with all the amount of volume we made. But the clients who did high-end things would do client folders that would be really heavy paper stock, and they would emboss it. And they felt like the the heavier the presentation of that tax return, the more money I could charge. And the reality is probably true, right? So I'm going to say now start utilizing technology to get the same type of results and polish the way you're distributing things. Think of everything as a user experience and now how AI can help improve that. So a couple things about trust and factors on systems. So I'm going to give a few strengths about AI and some things to think about. So, AI is fast at analyzing data, right? It can analyze data faster than any human can. Even algorithms and software, it's doing this stuff in real time. We've obviously developed a tax harvesting tool that you set up a custodian account, it brings in all your clients' data, and you can do real-time 24/7 analysis of both their public and private assets and come up with recommendations on when the opportunities for tax harvesting occur. That is a strength. No humans and this is meaning a small firm, a small to medium-sized tax firm, you now have access to the same technology that these big, huge firms, the JP Morgans of the world, are spending billions of dollars to support. AI enables you now to do that. The other thing is it's very consistent, right? It applies rules. If you set up the guidelines and what are the rules without humans throwing their bias in, without humans trying to disrupt the data, right? So that's a big deal. Tax planning suggestions. I think AI a lot of times will see connections between data that you may not see. It's always surprising to me when you put in questions and prompts and ask AI to do things, and you can say, "Hey, do you see anything that I have missed?" It is always interesting to me what it does pull out. And then obviously ongoing updates. So what's the beauty of AI or tools or platforms like CountingWorks Pro and TaxBuzz is we are incorporating the latest tax law changes year round. Basically every week we're adding new updates, even tax proposals right now. I have seen a bunch of media reports that the new Congress has two main things. They're going after one big bill in the beginning of the year, and they're going after tax in the end of the year. So, an AI tool that enables you to train it on the latest proposals and what might happen can help you educate your clients and keep you educated as well, right? So what are the limitations? I find limitations are these things. If you're doing multi-state, multi-jurisdictions, that could be a problem. If you're doing really complex scenarios with nuances, you could probably get AI to get you 80% of the way there. Then the human in the loop needs to take over. A lot of times where the human is the human doesn't know, as Rebekah had said earlier, the lifestyles or the desires. The client wants to move to Italy and retire, and it doesn't necessarily have all that kind of data. It's hard to input all that data, right? So that's another area where there's limitations. So the way to ensure accuracy and trust, as Rebekah just said it, maybe use two tools for a little while. Compare the results. Maybe keep your one tool, but then enhance and polish what the presentation looks like on top of it by using AI. So if you could combine AI with your professional judgment, I think you're going to see some really, really good end results. So I think we've kind of hit a lot of the myths. I think, let's talk about some real world success stories. So I'm going to start, and this isn't one specific client, but I'm just going to start on how my personal experience was with AI and as we developed our own tools. And then more importantly, all the battles we had trying to educate our clients on how it works. So when I first started looking at AI, this was a year and a half, 2 years ago, the decision was made, you know what, I think this is going to change the world. And I was following what OpenAI was doing, and I was on their waiting list, and I was kind of like, okay, maybe the media hype might actually deliver for once. And we started collecting all the data and knowledge that we had. So we've written thousands and thousands of articles. We have hundreds and hundreds of different tax planning strategies. We have all our continuing education material. Basically, we have the cliff notes of the tax code in our knowledge base. So we started training underlying AI models. And then the other thing we've learned is certain AI models are better at certain things. ChatGPT Mini, for example, I think is a better copywriter than ChatGPT Turbo. So what did we do? We started enabling, and as we'll see, if you're a subscriber of ours, having one tool that can use multiple models. So you can choose, at some point we'll allow you to use Claude or Gemini in a dropdown because different models are going to be stronger at things. But what I'm getting at is when we first started, and like the first time we tested ChatGPT, I think it was 50% accurate. It was amazing how it spit out the results. But when we analyzed it from a technical standpoint, what we did is we took, I think, 10 different live questions from our Connect technical support forum, and we just threw it into AI and see what it would do. And immediately it answered the questions, but we analyzed it in a tech review and it was like, oh my God, it's 50% accurate. That has dramatically changed over the year and a half since we started putting our model out. And it is night and day. I mean, we're in the high 90s now. And the reason it has shortfalls is maybe the date was wrong or the wrong years or the prompt wasn't written correctly. So usually it's a human deal. But more importantly, what I'm amazed about is people I never thought would learn how to use this are now completely hooked on it. We have users going in there. So just a little background, our system is, I don't know if we're pushing 200,000 successful questions and queries, but we're in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands for sure. It is growing every day exponentially. And we have users in there 20, 30 times a day. If it was not accurate and it wasn't saving them time, they wouldn't be doing that. And a lot of times they're using their full staff to get in there and basically hit it up and do everything you can think of from that tax research. Again, just doing simple things like answering client responses or questions. I think it's a big deal. So the question is long term, and I don't like thinking long term. I'm thinking the next 3 to 5 years. What do I think AI is going to do? I don't think it is a threat as much as it's an opportunity. You're seeing a lot of reasoning coming in, and where it's going to be equivalent to kind of the human mind. I think that will have its limitations for a while. But the reality is, what is the window we're looking at? Let's say the next 3 to 5 years, huge opportunity. We have Trump tax laws coming in, changes, whether they be extensions, some different changes. You have a huge boomer population that's retiring. You have more tax planning and opportunities than ever. You're also seeing a wave of small business startups. I believe there's like 10 million more people coming on that would be paid tax preparer type returns in the next future. You're in an industry that is basically has a retirement wave going on. So what does that mean? If there are not enough accountants replacing people, the humans that are left are going to kill it. Only if I feel as if you use this new AI technology. So, Rebekah, now let's say, what is the final thoughts you would have is say, okay, I don't want you to fear it as much. It's not here to replace you. It's here to help you for now. What would be your thought process to kind of get people over the edge?
I love AI. And a lot of times I will simply just tell our clients when they're expressing hesitation how much I use it and how much I trust it and how much it helps me on a day-to-day basis. Because a lot of our clients talk to me and my team once a month. They'll book a meeting with one of us. And so they know me, right? They know that I'm going to give them good advice. Generally speaking, I try, and they've used the advice that me and my team have provided. So I think that can be helpful if you know someone who's using it, someone you trust. Go to them, let them show you. I do a lot of training on the system and I teach people how to write prompts, because a lot of the problem, like you mentioned, Lee, sometimes the prompt writing itself is the issue and they're not getting the outputs they want because they're not giving it the inputs they need to. So that can be helpful, just to get training to learn how to utilize it in a way that's going to actually work for you. And then that can be that light bulb moment, like, oh, if I talk to it like this, it's actually going to give me the data that I want, or the output that I want, or the client response that I want, whatever the case may be. I also think one thing that you kind of hit on earlier, Lee, that we didn't dive too much more into was the personalization aspect. I did my Spotify Wrapped this morning before work, and it made me think just how much in daily life we rely on personalization now. Like everything is personalized. Your coffee order is personalized. Your music recommendations are personalized. Your streamers remember what you've watched. So we're so inundated with personalization that having AI be able to take all of that data that you're giving it and put out these very polished, personalized types of documents or summaries for your clients can be a massive, massive game changer for your firm, because not everyone's doing it yet. And people love personalization. So I think it's giving you the ability to deliver something to your clients that you've never been able to deliver before. And that to me is a reason to give it a try, hands down.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's interesting too with personalization and even training. We've been exploring in I'll call it alpha, building. So we have we're calling our new AI tool Max, and we gave it a name and a personality for a purpose because it's now able to have full-on conversations with your users, and it can even have a website visitor, ask it questions verbally via, their own words, and it's able to have communications right back as if, and much different than you would see in like an automated attendant at American Airlines, even though they're getting better and obviously utilizing this technology. But the more you train it, the more memories you put in it, the more personalization you put into your own personal AI engine. If it's a tool like CountingWorks Pro, you just load all those memories in. It can actually do a custom quote from your website now. And pretty soon, when we release what I'm going to call our talking assistant, we're able to clone your voice if you want. It's kind of creepy for some people, but you can use, pick a voice, and your AI agent, your assistant, can have full-on conversations that are really well planned and go into your resources and some of this information about your firm, that they can qualify leads for you. They can do a quote for you. They can schedule an appointment for you. And this is where that saving time and labor costs obviously is a big deal. So I hope we've hit enough on the myths and kind of the benefits. We are obviously as bullish as possible on AI. A lot of the tools that we're creating, we are making AI native now. We're even replacing some of our software that I consider kind of clunky and harder to use. And as Rebekah said, you can't personalize it as much. Software has limitations. It's only as good as the programming in it. AI has no limits. You can do that one-to-one proposal, for example, not worrying about a template and going in. You can train it and say, okay, this is my format. This is what a proposal looks like. But now do this proposal for so-and-so as a virtual CFO at this amount of money, and they are in the restaurant business. And please, highlight some things that restaurant users will be interested in, and it's going to lay it all out in a way that you never could do. So I hope we have pushed you over the edge. If you have any questions or want to trial any of our AI products, go to taxbuzz.com, where you can jump in for free. We give like 100,000 tokens at this point. Or if you're looking for a full automated platform, that's at countingworkspro.com. Feel free to reach out to either of us at LinkedIn. But again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant Podcast. We hope to see you in the future. We're working on kind of pivoting a little bit away from AI, more into marketing again here in the next couple of weeks. So look for some of our new topics before you get into tax season. Appreciate it. Thank you.